Welcome back. You are watching Newscentre. Over 7,26,000 electric two-wheelers were sold in FY23, registering a growth of 187% over FY22. These numbers could be higher in FY24, but there will be certain factors to watch out for. The central government has restructured the FAME scheme for electric two-wheelers, reducing the subsidy per vehicle from 40% to 15% of the ex-factory price of the scooter, or 10,000 kilowatt-hour instead of 15,000 per kilowatt-hour. Industry sources say this could lead to a price increase anywhere in the range of 10,000 to 45,000 for electric two-wheelers. The changes are applicable from the 1st of June this year. Bajaj Auto, which sold more than 32,000 electric scooters last year, has announced a ramping up of operations and is looking at manufacturing 10,000 electric scooters per month. The company sold more than 4,000 scooters in April and is looking to increase sales on a month-on-month basis. How will the new FAME structure impact electric two-wheeler adoption? Joining us right now is Rakesh Sharma, Executive Director of Bajaj Auto. Mr. Sharma, thank you very much for joining us. Give us a sense of how this new subsidy structure and slashing of subsidies for electric two-wheelers are likely to lead to price increases in the case of Bajaj Auto.
Well, good evening, Parikshit. I cannot specifically at this point talk of the pricing outlook for Bajaj Auto post 1st of June. We have to consider various angles, as you know, and it's a bit premature to talk about it. But you're very right. The subsidy has been slashed effective 1st of June, which is rather close. And in our case, I can tell you that the subsidy per vehicle is reducing by almost 21,000 rupees. Now, how we will deal with it in our pricing strategy is yet to be finalized.
Right. But industry-wide, how much of an impact do you feel will this have on the EV ecosystem in terms of prices going up? If we ask you for an average price increase across the EV industry?
Well, you know, as it is to begin with, it's not as if that there is a large sort of breathing space in the margin area for the industry. It's just the nature of the structure of pricing and margins and the costs. So it's not as if there is much of room to play with. And definitely either 100% or some proportion of that is going to be passed on by the industry, I suspect. And that is definitely going to lead to, obviously, a price increase. And you can imagine, you yourself said that the subsidy cuts are between, as experienced by manufacturers, are between 20,000 to 40,000. And that's a significant price rise to sort of pass on to the customer. And definitely it will retard the growth rate of the electric vehicle component of the two-wheeler industry. There's no doubt about it because, you know, the price. But though I would say, having said that, tempering down of these growth rates and you know, the tempering down of the incentives, the subsidy, and enough signals emanating from the government that FAME is on its last legs and might go away after March 24, are perhaps steps in the right direction, because this breakneck growth with a lot of ambiguity skews decision-making regarding capital investments. You know, it gets customers into consumption cycle who are not strong enough to, buy those products. And then there is a lot of disappointment, both at the back end and the front end, which is the dealership end later on, because our subsidy regime is very difficult to sustain over the years. And when vendors and dealers invest, their time horizons are much, much longer than 1 year or 2 years. So albeit it's a step in the right direction, it will retard the industry. It will retard it more in the first 2 or 3 months, I suspect. But then it will come back, I think, to a very saner level of growth and slower penetration. But it will keep marching ahead.
So the kind of growth that we saw in electric two-wheelers in FY23, 187%, almost 7.26 lakh electric two-wheelers being sold. do you think that growth momentum for the industry can continue, or you feel that there will be some reduction in that?
See, it should, the growth will continue, but obviously not at this rate, because you see, what is driving the growth essentially? The great thing about this is the growth is actually being driven by customer adoption. The customer, there was a point of inflection, when price of petrol crossed 100 rupees, and the customer started to feel that they want to get liberated from this regime of, this uncertainty around the fuel budget every month. And we have seen that adoption is actually very good, because people are now switched on to the idea of moving from ICE to electric. Now, purchasing power is another issue. With the full subsidy, the difference between operating cost of an ICE scooter and an electric scooter is roughly about 2 rupees a kilometer. Now, depending on how much you drive, but let's say if you ride about 50 kilometers a day, you could recover it within 1 year. The price differential between an ICE scooter and an electric scooter could be recovered within a year. Now, this probably will go to 1.5 years or so. And therefore, it means that some people will fall off. Without any subsidy, this sort of goes to almost about 3 years plus recovery period. So you will see that, people only with higher purchasing power who can sustain a recovery period of 3 years plus will come to the buying table. And that is what will sort of retard the growth. But however, the economic logic, and on top of it, the convenience logic, which is you don't have to go to the petrol stations and you don't have to get it serviced, and all the other convenience of riding and etc., will continue to sort of be attractive to the customers, but to a smaller set of customers who are, the set is smaller only because of economic reasons, purchasing power reasons. So I would say you would not see this breakneck growth, but you will see certainly the electric industry growing at a factor, growing at higher than ICE industry.
So you're saying that the breakneck growth in electric two-wheelers will not sustain once the subsidies come to an end, or even when the subsidy change and subsidy reduction comes into effect. So essentially, sir, you feel that the growth will be lesser compared to FY23 in FY24, and going forward, when subsidies are removed altogether, the growth could fall even further?
Oh, yes, because, Parikshit, if you even take the data from, let's say, last 4 months, and if you compare it with the first, or let's say last 3 months and compare it with the first 9 months, if you slice and dice the data in that manner, you will yourself see that the growth rate in the recent months has tempered down already, because it is suggesting penetration. And of course, there is one other thing. You see, 65-70% of the industry is concentrated in 4 or 5 states, which have achieved a very high level of penetration. And rest of the country accounts for only 25-30%. And that is those are the areas, where the GDP per capita, the purchasing power is lower. So it is very, very clearly reflecting that the driver for the industry is definitely economic and to some extent convenience, but largely economic. But there is a purchasing power issue. So the lower growth rates of the last 3-4 months will temper down a little bit more in the next few months. Once we are over the shock, you see, it has been a little bit of an abrupt announcement, because it's just about, so there will be a shock in the system for, let's say, 1 or 2 months. But after that, we will see it coming back to a saner level of growth, lower than 22, 23, but certainly more than what ICE is experiencing.
Okay, my final set of questions, Mr. Sharma. One, you sold about 4,000 vehicles in the month of April this year. over 32,000 in FY23. What is the kind of monthly growth in sales that we can expect from Bajaj Auto, and what will be the growth over FY23 that you would be targeting in EVs?
See, in our case, as you know, we had to deal with certain supply chain glitches last year. So the base is very small. So it's not, the growth rates will be quite flattering, but they're not meaningful. What I can say is that certainly we did 4,000 plus in April. May is much higher than that, and we should continue. We have sort of solved for about 10,000 units in the first half of this year in terms of our capacity of our ecosystem, not just assembly and manufacturing, but at our vendor level also. We are further investing in that to take it up to, in the second half, to 15,000 units per month kind of a thing. The other thing which what we have been noticing in the last few months, and which I expect to become more prominent in the coming months, is a consolidation in the industry. There were many players who were entering the industry. In the last 3-4 months, we have seen consolidation happening. And with the reduction in FAME, there is the other incentive, which is the PLI. Companies which are getting the PLI benefits will be much stronger than people who are not getting it. And we will see a further consolidation. So even though the industry would not grow as fast as that, but the stronger players, and I think we can count ourselves as one of the stronger players, we will stand to benefit more in this kind of an environment.
My final question, Mr. Sharma, and very briefly, there seems to be, because of this FAME investigation, there seem to be players who are short on working capital, and they are looking to sell at least a minority stake or to exit completely. Have you been approached by some of these companies in the EV ecosystem? And is Bajaj Auto considering taking over or acquiring a stake in any of these EV companies?
Yeah, this is swirling around in the industry quite a bit. You're very right. You've picked it up. And of course, we have also been approached. But I would like to sort of comment beyond that, not just from our point of view, but it's not. It sort of reflects on the others as well. But you're very right. Some of the weaker players are out there in the market to looking at an exit, or definitely looking at support from established companies.
All right, Mr. Sharma, we've run out of time, but thank you very much for joining us here on CNBC TV18, giving us your view on how the reduction in FAME and restructuring of the FAME subsidy scheme will impact electric two-wheeler growth. Thanks once again for being with us here on Newscentre. That's all we have time for. Goodbye.